as far as the CRA part, we'll come back to that like next year and drill down. So we'll have time to get the right pipe ordered.
Oh, okay.
So, Mike, just to recap, it's going to be an acid gas injection well, South Wembley, South Beaver Lodge area. I think the formations that we're injecting into is about 12% sour. And then, yeah, I sent out those gas analysis, which looked like they're, 80 to 90% H2S, so, and a little bit of CO2. So we've got a couple different guys here, Mike. We got the Varigate team, and then Charlie's out of Houston, and his team was, you were with Legacy Metals, right, Charlie?
That's correct. Legacy Material Management. We're a spinoff of the previously, there's Legacy Tubular that's been around for 10, 12, 13 years, and it's a legacy in the sense that the president and primary person is the son of the guy that had Continental Casing back in the old days. And so actually his father started Legacy back in the 60s. So it's a long time. Legacy is relatively new, but it's the people they've been around for quite a while.
Perfect.
So, and again, I qualified in sending this morning. I qualified by saying it's more conceptual, and so again depends. You use the partial pressure of H2S and CO2 to get a ballpark reading, and you can see that everything below everything in the blue or below that, I think it's 1 psi partial. It has that's the carbon, and then you move up past that, you start off in the lower left corner with 13, the martensitic's 13 chrome, super 13, and then as you move past that, you go into duplex and super duplex, and then finally into the nickels that are in the pink and the violet. So, and this, it didn't really matter what bottom hole pressure. I just started off by some sort of assumption, just using a freshwater gradient, and based on that, the bottom hole pressure would be in, again, English units, around 6,000 psi, and that puts us up in the nickel range. We have previously been most of the acid gas injection wells that I've done, I think I would say exclusively have been G3 2550, 25 chrome 50 nickel. And so I was a little surprised that it fell outside of that range, but that certainly gives more a wider selection of material. And depends on, curious to see what Mike thinks about, what the required metallurgy is going to be for adequate corrosion protection. But you can see that the Sumitomo metals, 2242, we call it alloy 825. That's what we typically refer to it, but it's 22 chrome, 42 nickel, then 25 chrome, 35 nickel, 20 chrome, 35 nickel. Those Sumitomo CRAs, if you get into you start looking at fine details on each one of them, there are applications where one's better than the other for a specific application. But once again, these are the general corrosion resistances kind of amalgamated into one graphical representation. So, Mike, your thoughts?
It's get everything up to speed here, wrap my head around everything there as quickly as possible. But
Okay.
That's kind of where we landed right together in our conversation there, as we were looking. I can't remember the alloys in my notebook here.
I think we were the 2550 we were talking.
Yeah, they're about 50% nickel. Yeah,
So you're thinking, Charlie, that we could actually pull back from the 2550 and stay in that 2035, 2535, and 2242 range?
I think so. I think that's possible. Again, then you get into the details of the chlorides and a lot of the other chemistry, and that's where it gets out of my range. And in that case, we go to, as I mentioned, my go-to guy is Bruce Craig, and I'm guessing, Mike, you're probably acquainted with, or at least know who Bruce Craig is.
Yeah, I've heard the name.
Yeah, he has a lot of publications and both papers and books on oil field metallurgy, and as I told John in the group last week, I had him as a consultant on retainer when I was at Hamilton for 15 years, and so he was my go-to guy, and so I used him as a crutch most of the time because, I feel good about this. It's a recommendation, it's a suggestion as opposed to a recommendation kind of thing. A lot of qualifiers.
What would the price difference be if we went to the 2550? Like from the 2550 to the 2535, what are we looking at for a price difference?
Those right now pricing is really up in the air, because I would typically it'll be again based on the nickel content, and so if you got, for instance, 2242, you got 42% nickel versus 50% nickel, and you can, in general, ratio out based on that. So let's say, again, I think Craig threw out for 7-inch the other day. He threw out around $1,000 a foot. Wasn't that the number he said?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so, again, for round numbers, if you got 42 or 50 or 84, so it's going to be about probably 15% less to go with the 2242. And again, that's really an arm waving kind of approach. It depends a lot of it. Then you get into the details. Okay, is a mill in the process of making some 7-inch 2550 right now, and it's easier to add that on, or they're at least melting it. They already have the ingots. All sorts of extraneous facts that then affect it, that because it could be significantly more expensive for the 2242 just because they're not in the process of melting it and extruding it right now, rolling it. So again, until we get down to here's Craig, until we get down to the actual timing, exactly what you want, and then we go to the mills and get a specific dependable quote as far as price and delivery. And of course, right now the biggest moving target is the tariffs, because that obviously none of this is made in the U.S., so it's a question of what the Chinese are going to be able to do and what the Europeans are going to be able to do.
You wouldn't order this from Nippon, like from Japan?
Typically, that they're more expensive. Frankly, we at the moment we don't have an inroad to the sorry, someone.
Charlie, let me field this one, Charlie. Guys, I'm sorry
Sure.
for my tardiness. We
Sure.
had a little issue in the yard I had to take care of. We can order you Nippon material if that's what you would like. We just have found that commercially they're not as competitive because they don't have to be.
No, that's totally fair. And I guess the other piece to consider here is this is coming to Canada, right? So I mean, most of the European countries we have trade agreements with. The rules are changing every day, but given the fact that based on Tyler's update this morning, that they're going to drill up into intermediates and then take the time to drill out the bottom section and procure and run this CRA material, we would working with you import it right to Canada, right? Like there's no
Absolutely.
Yep.
do anything different. So
Absolutely.
depending on the countries you're considering, China, obviously there's tariffs.
Well, the good news about the Chinese government is they'll subsidize the mill to take care of the tariffs. So we would rather use European material for most cases or Japanese material. But what we found, and Charlie, I'm assuming we're talking about nickel because I was late.
Yes.
Is that from a delivery perspective, the Chinese is by far superior. But we would prefer European or Japanese material. So.
Why don't we get price on everything?
Yeah.
So looking at the, I guess we should pick one. Obviously, we'll price out the 2550, and then we should pick one of the lower grades and just price them out. Because what I'm thinking about is, I'm assuming that orange triangle is kind of where we're at, Charlie, on the,
Yes.
like if we're there, do we just push this right to 2550 and then we know we're covered?
That is, as I
You're on
said,
mute, Charlie.
as I said, the every acid gas injection well I've done in the last 15 to 20 years has been the higher end, the either 2550 or actually more G3 than 2550, but they're essentially the same thing, just depends on where you get it. And I'll add on for Craig I was mentioning to him that because this particular evaluation approach using the Sumitomo application, it shows the different lower nickel grades like 2242, and John was asking how does that affect the price? It's a lower nickel, so is it less expensive? And I said, well, for practical purposes, it's essentially the ratio of the nickel. So if it has 15% less nickel, it might be 15% less price. But if they're in the process of making G3 or 2550, then there are a lot of other things that affect the price. And
absolutely, especially billet availability
Yep,
is gigantic,
yep.
right?
Yep.
So the reason Charlie and I have done a lot of these in G3 or 2550, because the cost difference between the other grades is negligible, but once they have to consider making an entire billet for the project, where typically those mills have 2550/G3 billets available.
Gotcha.
So I'm assuming the 2550 and then it's got the 110, 125, 140. That's just KSI
yes,
ratings on the side.
yes.
So what
tip-
should we run?
And the 140 is very that's a rarity. Actually, the 110, 125 are much more common than 140.
Do we have what the specs on because we'll want to run a 139.7, like a 5.5. I'm assuming, is this standard weights? How does the weights work
Yes.
on CRA? Okay.
Yeah, so like that's going to have 100 MPa burst and collapse.
110 has 100 burst, 100 claps.
Correct. Yeah.
We're probably good there because we're at 4,300 meters. I'm just thinking if we do a frac on this.
And if you can throw out what you would guess the size and weight in metric, I can run a connection data sheet that will show you the mechanicals predicted for that. Or not predicted, what they're very accurately calculated for that. So then you can put that into your string design, as far as burst, collapse, tension, compression.
I'm assuming we're going to be looking at a 3423 kg pipe. Is that what you guys think?
That's what I just gave you the numbers based off, Tyler.
Well, that's the heaviest 5.5 you can get, anyways, isn't it?
You could get 26 pound or 38.69. I mean, in theory, like it's an API size. I don't know specifically for these CRA mills, but I don't see why not.
I would think we're good at the 3423 at 100 MPa burst and collapse. I mean, that's our hydrostats around 40 MPa, touch over 40. So it gives us a little bit of room on frac.
Yeah, you'd get up to 113 and 110 if you went to 125.
Then we'll lose a bit of drift on that, I would assume.
No. That's still 23 pound or 34 kg, just minimum 125 KSI as opposed to
I see. Sorry.
Yeah.
So that's about. Would this be called a P110 or no? It wouldn't be. It would just be a
110 KSI G3 or 2550.
Okay. 110. Okay.
But we'll have the same mechanicals.
Seems like a dumb question to you guys, but this is so new to me.
No,
no dumb questions, Tyler.
Exactly.
Oh, there can be dumb questions. I used to say that, but I deal with frackers every day. So.
We're trying to learn too. So.
But it will have the same. You can call it P110 or Q125 because it will have the same mechanicals. That regardless, that doesn't the composition doesn't change that. So.
And if we went for the 125, what was the pressures you said?
113.8 and 110.7. And we can get the data sheets over to you too, Tyler, right? Like that's just based off Barlow's and whatever. But
yeah. And then what do we run for connections on this stuff?
Well,
you're probably going to run a gas tight, right?
Yeah.
Should run a gas tight.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, in the vertical section of your 5.5, in the section of it's all vertical, but in the top hole section of your 5.5, I don't know if you want to run gas tight the whole way, or as you cross over to the CRA material.
I'd say just do it when we cross over, just to. We'd want to run somewhat of a premium connection, I would think, on the 5.5 above. We'll just run a standard L80, 3423 above. We could run a T95 as well, could we not?
Absolutely, you could. Yeah.
I'm just thinking the T95 will give us a little more burst and collapse than the L80.
Yeah, and I can send you some info on that too, because there's all the mills now too, Tyler, are doing sort of different things with chemistries, and they all have non-API grades that are just far superior. The other thing with some of the mills that we're seeing a lot of now is they'll make the pipe, they'll guarantee it 95% remaining body wall, so you get an extra 7.5% on your burst ratings right off the hop, right?
Yeah, I did a little bit of that.
I do a bunch of different options for that. I'll just send you the data sheets after we're done the meeting.
Sure. And let's pick a connection, and I think we pick a I would think we're good with the 3423 110 KSI. I don't think we need to go to the 125. If we do a frac on this, I'll confirm that.
So the thread selection will be dependent on where we get the material.
Yeah.
Because Tenaris, Valorec, JFE, they're not going to want their connection on Chinese material.
No.
We can run a hunting premium connection on Chinese material. If we buy the material from Europe, it'll likely be VAM top. If we buy the material from Japan, it could be either VAM or JFE.
Well, probably what we should do is just pick the piping grade, which we think pick one of the 12550 and one lower grade, so we can get a price comparison. Price it out to every country, and then we'll get their connections from them and get the prices, and then we can kind of look over all of it and kind of pick a design, what we like for thread, what we like for price, which is, price is usually king, but this is a little different, and then go from there. So what, I think we're pretty good on the 2550. We'll go 2550, 110 KSA. But when we drop down to the next level, what would everybody's gut feel be for nickel versus chrome? Like, do you run the more? Is more nickel generally better? Like, I mean, we don't have a fluid analysis of what we're going to inject. We have a rough idea. So, I mean, I know in a perfect world, we'd be like, this is what we're going to inject. What is the next best besides the 2550 that you guys feel that will cover multiple ideas?
So, Craig, don't you think it's? We have to see what the market is, and again, because they do make a lot more G3 than. Sumitomo makes a lot of 2550 for high-end users like Exxon, the majors, and that's. But as far as I think, our best option as far as availability and probably even price, because you're not going to see 2242 from the Chinese. They can melt it, but that's not their forte. So that's really a Sumitomo niche, and so I think the best thing is we can, if you're homing in on a size and weight, then we can start looking and get some idea on pricing, and if we have alternatives for a lower grade, a lesser percent nickel, then we can certainly get a feel for that, so you get a general idea for price and delivery on a lower grade option. Ultimately, I think you're going to end up sticking with 2550 or G3. G3 is the preferred, generally more acid gas injection wells get G3, I think, than any other CRA. Craig, your thoughts?
What's the nickel? What's the percentage chrome nickel in the G3?
It's
25,
yeah,
50.
yeah.
It's
Same.
2550. Okay.
It's just got a different trade name. Hey, so most of the wells we have done, the casing is T95 and the injection tubing is 2550. What we'll do, we'll try to source you some 2535 or something equivalent, a lower nickel grade, and we'll let you look at the differences. What we'll do, we'll throw the whole smorgasbord at it and let you guys decide what's the best option. But 100% of the wells we've done have been 2550 or higher.
Yeah.
So that's why we lean to that option. It's just one of those. The safety factor usually gets the engineers' curiosity in flowing, and they always end up going with the 2550.
Okay.
And Tyler, are we going to look at 3.5 tubing for this at the same time?
We might as well. That was kind of where we should go over the whole design. So surface will be, what did we say we're going to do? Surface 11 inch, right?
I can't remember if he said 10 3/4 or 11 3/4, but I think that one's sort of willy-nilly. It hardly matters.
And then 7 5/8.
Yeah, you could actually even run the 7 5/8 slim hole buttress inside of the 9 5/8.
Okay. And we'll run. We'll want to run some 139.7, 34.23 T95, and then we'll switch over to the CRA, and then finish up on bottom again with a T95. Can you, whoever's sharing, can you share the stick diagram we have of this well?
Yep.
Is that kind of, Craig and Charlie, does that kind of make sense then, running the T95 above and below the CRA?
Yes, sir.
That should give us lots of burst.
Yep, agreed.
And you hopefully saw the sketch that I showed about the galvanic resistant crossover. I mean, it can certainly be put in an intermediate level and then finished off with carbon below it, like the T95.
Probably, if you want to maybe go over that, once we'll just look at the stick diagram quick, and then if you want to go over that crossover with Mike,
Sure.
and then so he can understand that, and then would you guys think we run on the bottom of the T95 right before the CRA, we run that crossover, and then once again on the bottom run another one on the bottom side? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so the stick we had
Yeah, 9 5/8, 7 5/8, 5.5.
and then there'll have to be special clearance couplings on the 7 5/8, correct?
Yeah, and it'll be more likely than not, it's going to be a buttress thread. It'll be BTC special clearance.
And you guys have that in stock, eh?
It's an every day of the week item, yeah. Now the 5.5 T95, we don't have it in stock, but won't worry about that. I think the lead time on that's half of what it is for the G3. So yeah.
Well, it's all going to be fine, right? It'll. I actually have T95 sitting in my stock, but it's not 34.23. It's only 25.3. So we'd want to get some 34.23, and then we'll probably want to change the connections anyways. So we'll run the 244.5 surface, then we'll go to the 193.6.7. And is that weight good? The 44.2, is that a common weight that you guys have?
Which 44.2? Yeah.
And it'll be that'll be an L80 BTC
Special clearance collar.
SCC.
Yeah.
And then if you could send me the spec sheets on that, just so I have the dimensions for the drilling guys. And then from there, so that would be what we're going to drill right away. So that's the stuff we're going to need to secure. And then we'll cement that in, and then we would look at pulling the trigger, get the prices on the rest of it, which would be the T95. So what do we got there? There could be an updated. Can you scroll down to the formations down there? So if you see the Beloy is at 2808. So we'll probably run the 7 5/8 to 3,000 meters.
Okay.
We just want to cover that Beloy so that if this acid gas injection doesn't happen, the Beloy is an injector formation that we would inject into, make it an injection well. A water injection well, not a gas injection. And then we'll probably have to have 620 meters of the surface.
Yeah, we got 20,000 meters in stock, so I think it should be good. Yeah.
So you're worried we're a little tight. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we would run. So what that's going to do though, because we had ran the 5.5, we're going to have to run a little more 5.5, but that'll be cheaper, the T95 then. So we'll probably run, plan on 2950 start with the, we'll hang off the first section of 5.5. And then we're going down to the Leduc, which is at 3,989. So we probably want to go to 3,900 meters with T95, cross over to the CRA down to, I would say 4,150.
So 250 meters of the CRA.
Yeah, that's kind of what we had talked about before. I think it was the 250.
And another 100 of the T95 at the bottom, Brett. Or how deep into that Precambrian will you go?
They'll probably give us 100 meters for sure. I wouldn't be shocked if they don't drill down to like say 4,300. I think we would be best to plan for that. We'd want to go a little deeper than any shallow, just in case we have any kind of issues. So.
Which? After that. Oh, well, that's what he was just saying. He might go to 4,300 meters.
I'd just go to 4,300.
Yeah. So another 150 of the T95.
So we're 1,100 meters of T95. And then 250 meters of CRA.
CRA. Okay.
And then I think that would be. What does everybody think about that design?
I think it makes a lot of sense for what you're trying to achieve from, just a size and weight perspective. I don't really have.
Now it's just material.
Yeah, from my perspective, I think this makes sense. You'll get enough injectivity through 3.5 anyways, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that. Yeah,
I mean, the other way is going. You'd have to drill a 9 5/8 intermediate, or could you do 8 5? You could do 8 5/8, and then run a 7-inch CRA. But that's going to get pretty ridiculous, I would assume.
well, especially because then your 4.5 injection tubing will also be the whole way of CRA too, right? So
Yeah, I think
you're starting to get 50% more steel, 40% more steel anyways than. So
I think I'll take this design back to the team. Like, unless Charlie, Craig, unless you guys have any insight that you'd like to offer.
Well, you guys know the geology much. Knowing anything, you know a lot better than we do. So those set points are, totally what you think is appropriate in this situation. But just as far as the 250 meters of CRA, that sounds great. And just go ahead and give us an idea again of maybe a range, a small range, but some ideas on again weights, size and weight, and so we can start doing a search.
Sourcing. Yep. Fantastic.
Okay. Do we want to chat about tubing quickly? I'm assuming that's got to be full 2550 or G3 tubing.
Yep.
I would assume so, unless you really wanted to use your tubing as a sacrificial string and wasn't surface rig on it.
Wasn't Taylor talking just redoing it?
I would rather sit with Justin Trudeau and Mayor Nenshi for a day than put a service rig on this well more than once in its lifetime.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Yeah, okay. Then Charlie, Craig, any opinions on this? Typically, on these acid gas injectors,
Yep.
you're running 2550 for the tubing as well.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
I think the cross section, the stick diagram that I sent you for the AGI, one example AGI, it will also have the G3 tubing.
And what
Top to
connection
bottom.
are they running on that? Same sort of idea? It's like a VAM top or a JFE line or
Well, on the CRA,
Whatever.
it won't be a JFE because JFE does not make anything above Martin's super, super 13. So they don't make any nickel grades. So it's going to either be a VAM connection or, as Craig said, hunting on Chinese.
yeah, okay.
So G3 2550 VAM connection or a hunting connection. What weight would we be looking at? And material, are you going to go like a...
Let me just pull up my. I'm not super great on weights for non-upset tubing, Tyler, so I'm just gonna
Yeah.
cheat a little
I've got
bit.
it
So-
open here right now, but like there's a third... Wow, there's quite a few of them. I mean, we're going to be injecting probably 17 to 20 MPa on surface. So pressure's probably going to be, just looking at the bursts of stuff, like even a 13.69 kg has got a 65 MPa burst.
And sorry, what's your surface injection pressure?
Probably say 20 MPa.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you're. Yeah, so I don't know, probably 9.2 pounds, 13.69.
That gives us 35 MPa burst. Well, depending on the material, sorry. What material? So it'll be
It'll be 110 KS.
at the 110. Okay, I don't have that one. That's what is the burst on that?
I'll just do it manually here. 10,000 times 0.75. The wall thickness 0.254. Wall thickness is 0.254. So that would be 14,000 psi times by 629. It would be 96 MPa.
This he's got lots.
Which sounds about right because it's double of the J55, right? 110 to 55, yeah, exactly.
Can we? Could you go down to the 11.46? Well, I guess we're gonna be. You got pressure on the backside on the packer, so you don't have to worry. Like hydrostatic matters, but you've got a backside, so hydrostatic should balance itself out, correct? So we really just have to worry about overpressure, like on the injection pressure part of it, don't we?
Yeah, I think that's right, Tyler. So 216 divided by 3. That would get you, the lighter weight would be like 81 MPa, give or take.
I would think that's lotsy. Like I would.
I guess Craig and Charlie, do they make 80 KSI 2550?
No.
Okay.
They
The
do.
110 KSI is what we're going with then. Like that's what they make, kind of thing.
Yeah, because it gets its strength from co-working, and so there's no there's no advantage in having a lower. I won't say never, because Sumitomo has made some 80 KSI, but that was old. You'd only find it in some surplus stockpile, a small amount. Anyway, it's very uncommon. So most of the time, it's almost exclusively it's going to be co-worked, either 110 or 125, and I don't know, Craig. I think most of the time we're seeing 125.
Yeah, most of the G3 that I've seen for the 3.5 is 3.5, 10, 20 pound, 125 yield.
Yep.
That's real. Yeah, so again, Tyler, it may be a situation where, the trying to find an economical solution and going smaller and everything else, smaller wall might prove to be more expensive in practicality, right?
Yeah.
So, well yeah, I guess. Why don't we look at whatever options we can for the 3.5 tubing then?
Yeah, and we
In the
need.
G3.
So it'll be a G3. Or 25.
50 G3. Yep.
Okay. So we'll want, we're going to need, we should probably have 4,100 meters of that. Gives us a little extra in case we wreck any, because it's not like we're going to go to town and grab another joint off the shelf.
Yeah, there's no. Gotta be over prepared.
This is a pipe seller's dream. This stuff, I feel like it's like I can't just short this to like the centimeter. I need to have a little extra.
Oh, extra.
Where I'm from, we call that lanyard. It's a little bit.
I want to do the same with the CRA, the 5.5, and the T95 5.5, but we can get prices on it. Like we're not going to be talking thousands of meters, so it'd just be adding, a couple joints in case we wreck a connection and type it up. So I think that's a decent design. I mean, it's I can't even imagine what the cost of this design is, but as far as our side as Archer, like for injection and drilling and pressures, I think that design works everywhere. Unless you guys see a red flag anywhere. And then after that, I think just the last thing would be to go over the crossovers with Mike, Charlie, just so he can wrap his head around that, and then we can go back to the boss and say that this is why we want to run it, and a little more of a background than just my dumb farm ass trying to explain it to him.
That one.
Just one other question, Greg, if I can, just before we jump into that. You mentioned some companies go beyond the 2550 there. What is there a typical for that, or is that a very case-by-case material selection?
It's definitely case by case, and typically what we use if 2550 is not sufficient is a C276, which has Charlie, what is that, 70% nickel?
Yep, it's in that range. Of course, there may be, for instance, 68 to 72, 73, something like that. But that's typically in that range.
No, that makes sense. That's just because they were kind of getting pinned on more the product availability itself, which we expected. So just wanted to see what was beyond that, and if there was sort of a typical, or because I mean even the 2550 gets into being fairly exotic for what I would call a mundane Canadian oil field. So
yeah, it it's we get a lot of sticker shock when we start talking to people about these projects when we get their first quote.
Yeah.
They're not always prepared for the actual commercial value. Even if we try to warn them.
Yeah, I've done a lot of work in the Gulf of Mexico and mostly in refining down in Texas. And yeah, when you talk about the metallurgies that go beyond like 316 stainless steel or 2250 duplex, jaws drop and eyes pop very quickly.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But anyway, sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that answers my question, and then go ahead onto what you're going to talk about with the crossover.
One last question now that Mike brought that up. Do you guys? I'm assuming you guys do surface piping, like line pipe for from our compressor to our well.
Is that a CRA
No, for
question?
Varigate. No, Varigate. Do you guys sell any line pipe and stuff?
We sure do, yeah. Just again depends on what we need to do to this line pipe if you're gonna be running that acid gas for it.
Yeah, that's a Mike question. Mike, any idea what we'd be running for surface equipment? Like, because I don't. It's not my division, and I generally don't want to get involved in that. But Derek, as our ops manager, Mike knows him really well. We all work as a team, so we would want to have a plan, because I'm going to assume that stuff is as far away as casing.
Yeah, and that sort of depends on your philosophy around risk, around inspection, stuff like that. Because there's some guys, like one that I'm working on right now, they just run carbon steel on their surface pipe because they've had so many upsets with duplex and 316. It's a little more reliable corrosion with carbon steel. You just have to make sure you're on top of it. The problem with some of the stainless steels is everybody says you're going to be water, like no water in there, no free water. But then you get free water and you have high chlorides, and that, from what I've seen, that just wreaks havoc, especially on the 316 that they had in their surface piping initially. So I think that there's a bigger discussion around that, Tyler. But I mean, if you guys have experience and have product that you'd suggest, I think we definitely.
I think we're at the very, very tip of starting discussions on this well, to be honest. Like, there is, compressors and surface. Like, this is such a big project for a company our size that it's a little overwhelming, to be honest. So that's kind of where we're at, and we'll drill the strat well part of it first, and then that'll give us time to get this sorted out.
Yeah, we work with quite a few, suppliers around Tyler for that stuff, so we can always get a conversation going.
And I'll kick off some of the coding conversations too. You could even, I don't know, maybe even like a glass reinforced liner or something like that isn't as susceptible to, like, this is just gas going through, right? So, there could be other options to look at, but I'll start investigating, I guess I'll say.
Yeah, once we get into that point, we'll have to get the other guys in on this, because it's, I'm just not even close to the right guy for that. I'm not the right guy for this part of it, but unfortunately you guys are stuck with me for this part, so.
Life's all about learning.
Yeah. At some point here, I'm not going to remember how to tie my shoes, because there's too many things going in and I can't retain it, so.
Yeah.
But let's chat about the crossovers, and then we can get everybody back to what they have to go on.
Perfect.
So I guess this was more of me talking to Mike. We discussed this some last week as far as the concept, and there are a lot of opinions about how necessary galvanic resistant crossover is, and our philosophy is that it's cheap insurance. And so to do what we do at the where the CRA and carbon meet is to put a special crossover in there that has ceramic epoxy coating, ID and OD, and that basically acts like the analogy is electrical tape. It just eliminates the galvanic flow from the carbon, which is an anode, to the CRA, which is the cathode, and therefore causing corrosion in the carbon. And the most intense galvanic current flow is the closer the proximity, the higher the current flow. So the first thing that's going to get attacked is right above the connection in the carbon, right above the connection of the CRA. So we have one customer I'm building right now that they didn't. I had a configuration like this, and they said, no, we want a lot more length of coated material below the carbon, so we put a 20-foot section in. We can do whatever. The rule of thumb is 10 diameters. And so if it's 7-inch pipe, I'd use 7 feet of coated pipe. That's safe enough. We can make it longer, but that's a good sweet spot, in my opinion, to be sure that you've got it covered. And so we have, of course, a premium connection between the two. There's no I'm trying to say the like the annular fluid, the in a battery. Sorry, I sometimes have word issues. The electrolyte that would conduct the current. There's none of that. There's no air, so that's a perfect environment to avoid galvanic interaction. So it's really just on either side of the connection, and so I don't know if there are any other questions about it, but you can see in this case it had the same situation as you, that they had one zone that they wanted to protect with CRA, and of course to save material they went with carbon above and below it. So in this case it'd be the T95 there, and then the CRA with the ceramic epoxy coating inside and outside. For the casing, we also add 16 grit aluminous oxide blast media to give a good, and so the way it gets applied, first there gets the ceramic epoxy, and we do the sponge test to be sure that there's no holidays in that, and then they put a second coat on, and in that they add the silica, the alumina, and to give a better grip for cement bond.
You mentioned something there, Charlie, about like cheap insurance. I think like on surface I might be a little more skeptical, but downhole, I mean, it's almost, I don't know, why not have something like this in there? Does that make sense, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the wrong guy to ask that. I mean, I'm a salesman dream when it comes to stuff like this that I don't know about. I mean, we're going to spend $1 million on, or hopefully not $1 million. I'm not trying to give Varigate free run on pricing here, but we're gonna spend a lot of money on this 250 meters of pipe. It's kind of crazy that we don't do something like this. So I think the best would be to price out that crossover, Charlie, like the upper and lower, because it'll be in that 139.7. Because this is a 7-inch one you have here. But to me, it makes sense. I mean, if Mike agrees, I can't go to our company and team and say if Mike agrees and you guys agree, then there's really no leg for us to stand on not to run it. I would probably be willing to bet you that every acid gas injection well that is around me here right now probably does not have them.
Right.
But it's probably because of maybe they do. But they're probably just running CRA and then just going with that route. But it's, it's should be out of the crazy area, but I mean, tubing's going to fail, packers are going to fail, like everything's going to fail on these wells. Like it's the nastiest of the nasty. So I think you're kind of crazy I think you talked they were somewhere in the 20,000 range, 20, over 20, I think. I thought I remember you hearing.
Right.
And I'm assuming because we're talking in Canada, that's all Canadian dollars, right? We don't want to talk about that crazy American dollar, do we?
We can price it out in British pounds if you want.
Yeah.
We wish it was that far.
It's just...
Tyler, I know you mentioned this is a new type of project for you. Just for reference, every single acid gas injection that Charlie and I have worked on together, we have put these in there because of the safety factor.
Perfect. Have you guys done many in Canada, or are you mostly in the U.S.?
I haven't done, no, mostly, pretty much exclusively U.S. We've talked about in Canada, but not many, and so no, all U.S.
So if we run this, you guys are going to fly up to Canada to do your one and only,
Oh,
or your first well.
We can if we need to. I'm in.
yeah, we're certainly available for that.
There's back and forth on this for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I'll have to go up there and do some boar hunting.
Yeah, I've shot pigs north of Houston and Huntsville. I shot pigs, but
I have a big regret that an engineer that got where I got started on this. I had an engineer that showed me a downhole camera. This is in a 5,000 foot just hazardous waste injection well in Louisiana. In fact, probably 3,500 feet deep. Wasn't that deep, but he had a leak, and it was in the carbon at the connection, and so that's. I wish I'd kept a copy, been able to have a copy of that video, because it gave a visual reference for, and that's what it was, galvanic corrosion. So it is a real thing. Just, again, a lot of things. Historically with Hamilton, somebody would say, well, I know we need CRA, but if we use carbon, how long is it going to last? I said, well, with CRA, you're going to measure it with a calendar. With carbon, you're going to measure it with a watch. And because it relatively speaking, it is going to be a lot faster. And so this, just like I think Tyler said, it's, it's hard to say how it's going to be in 10 years or 15 years, but certainly there's a better chance of not having a problem if you put this in. Now, what that percent chance is, I don't know, but at least if this were 200,000, yeah, that's a pretty pricey tag. But for 25,000, it's relative to the cost of the well, it's pretty inexpensive.
Yeah. I think let's put that in the diagram, or in the plan, not necessarily diagram, but let's put it in there. I just can't fathom knowing out there that we're basically creating the worst well environment ever, and then not doing everything we can you know, in future life. I mean, 20 years down the road, 30 years down the road, I don't want a well that I designed on Global News.
Yeah.
I've been on Global News once, and I always tell everybody I don't want to be on it again. So
No one watches it anyways, Tyler. It's all good.
Well,
yeah,
our big boss at Legacy Tubular, Legacy Material Management, Preston Benditz, worked for BP in the days of Macondo, and he was directly involved in that. So that was again the analogy of the Global News. That was a pretty scary time. So
yeah, we had at the end of our last company, we had a large battery fire, and I can say why now because it's past the time, but tank truck didn't ground when he was loading oil and burnt our battery down, and I was the incident commander that had to put it out. And my mom was going through leukemia treatments in Calgary in the hospital, and none of my family was like, "We're not telling Mom about this because we don't want her to worry about Tyler while he's out there doing this." And she was up in the middle of the night and saw it on the news. I don't think I've pissed that woman off a lot in my life. Like I always joke that she brought me into the world and is probably going to take me out. That was maybe the maddest she's ever been at me because we didn't tell her what was going on.
I can only imagine.
So, okay, well, I think we have a design. Let's try to find a 2550 and or a G3, and then see what you guys can find for one level below. And then we can take it to the team. My recommendation is probably G3 2550. Mike, I don't know your thoughts, but when we don't fully understand what we're going to be putting down this well, and we're that close to the line already, I think we're kind of crazy to not go. Worst thing we could do is set this well up.
Makes sense. Charlie and Craig, what do you think for your side you need for, a week, 10 days, tomorrow to try to get this stuff priced out?
If you can give us a week, that would be ideal. But we can try to put a rush on it and get stuff moving. The only problem we're having right now with mill feedback is the tariffs in the United States. So with this going to Canada, I think we'll be safe for the week.
Yeah, I think we'll do everything we can to avoid having this land in the U.S. for now. That might change in a week.
Who knows? Or in 2 days.
Yeah, 2 days. August 1st is our deadline, so we'll see what.
That's until Trump wakes up with a new wild hair and decides to do something silly.
Yeah. Yeah, but I guess for Charlie and Craig, in terms of getting pricing, if we could get it quoted like CIF, Edmonton, or even XMill, whatever, it doesn't really matter. We just need to know so we can figure out the logistics side.
No problem. No problem at all.
Okay, and then Tyler will flip you over some
Specs.
all the specs you've asked for the sort of the API pipe. And I guess, Charlie, Craig, if you could flip us over a data sheet for just the 5.5, 23, 110 KSI G3, that would be awesome.
And then we'll look at tubing and connections. Gas tight for the CRA, and then just a premium for the regular 5.5. And then Brad, guys, you guys can quote the surface and the 7 5/8 as well.
Yeah.
We can get that all lined up. That
and the T95 tire.
And the T95 for sure. No, I want to do this as a package with you guys. Not saying I won't price out a little bit of the other stuff, but I mean, you're the ones doing the legwork on this, so I appreciate that, and I'm not going to just have you design it and then call somebody else and like, hey, get me this.
Appreciate that. Yeah. We'll get you the best price, and we'll work with you. So
yeah, I mean, this is going to be what it is. So, Mike, do you have any other questions?
for where we're at. I'd like to see the pricing difference between the two materials, but yeah, the 2550 from this conversation seems to be set up pretty much to be the way to go. And yeah, no other questions for myself.
Okay. And I think,
So Tyler, when this one goes, when we knock this one out of the park, you're going to drill 10 more of these things, or what?
Oh, easy.
if we drill 10 more of these, I have gotten somewhere wrong in my life and done something wrong. Yeah, I don't. I never dreamt we'd be even talking about one of these. 2 months ago, it wasn't even on our cards, and then with gas takeaway and all the issues up in this area, not to get political, but basically a lot to do with politics, but gas takeaway is a huge thing, and this is one aspect that helps that. So yeah, I imagine there's a few of them around here, but I hope I'm not involved in 10 more.
Okay, fair enough.
But I guess in saying that, once you've done, it's like anything, once you've done one, it's probably just, for you guys like Charlie and Craig, it's probably just, this is kind of a boring conversation. We do this every day. It's easy, but it's just such a wildcat to us that it's a little bit of a learning curve.
Yeah.
Well, we've in dealing I've dealt a lot more with hazardous waste wells. U.S. calls them Class 1 hazardous waste wells, and the issue there is that that's a cost center. That's not a money maker like a production well, and so it gets to me it seems like it gets more scrutiny with upper management because we're spending this money and again it's a cost center, and pretty much the same for an acid gas injection well. What at least we thought we were going to be a lot more focused on CCUS this year, and that was going to be a money maker because they were going to get $85 a ton, and now that's for every ton disposed of permanently, 65 for tertiary recovery approach, and that dropped to 17, and the pro forma went out the window because they're not going to make money off $17 a ton. So that's been a big disappointment for Craig and me. Bad surprise that that has happened. That along with the tariffs, it really led to a lot less sleep.
Yeah, let's say it's been interesting. That's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
I think the problem too with the tariffs is nobody fully understands it. Like
Agreed.
Changes.
Agreed.
they're just
Even the source.
We can't get trade attorneys to agree.
Like if
Well,
you
in
look at
Canada, our government changes the rules every 2 weeks. So you just right when you wrap your head around what it means, then they go and change the rules the next day.
Yeah.
And now, it's just, I feel like I've been involved in trade case after trade case review with the government for, honestly, like 10 years.
Yeah.
It's between anti-dumping with Asia and China and now Korea and everything else. It's just, we probably need to retain a full-time trade lawyer just to try to get to the bottom of this. But
yeah, and like I deal with quite a few pipe suppliers, and I do have one domestic, and it's the one that everybody hates, and I don't buy much from them, but I talk to them, and I always chuckle because they're always asking me like trying to find out what the guys that are bringing import in, and I am just like absolutely tight-lipped with that stuff because I'm like, I don't want. They crush the market for everybody else.
Yeah.
So it's just lobbying in this government. Like, who knows where we're going to end up with tariffs? I mean, you look at the stuff that's supposed to be part of free trade. Like, how much? Part of me feels like this tariff talk in Canada, US actually isn't really going to affect us that much in some ways because a bunch of it falls under, well, it used to be NAFTA. I think it's Kuzmo or something now. Like, a bunch of it's going to fall under that anyway. So it's just freaking media that we need to get rid of.
Yeah.
Yeah, the technical stuff on it, to me, the technical stuff is fun. I like doing it. But the political stuff, no, that really takes a lot of the enjoyment out of the work.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Well, and for us too, with no manufacturers of CRA material in Canada, I mean, even if there was a duty that they put on this stuff, we would fight it and likely be successful, right? So that's why maybe China is going to be our best option.
Well, we have several sources in China, so
Yeah, no, perfect. Okay, well, I think unless anyone else has anything to discuss, we can probably call it a wrap for today and reconvene, and I don't know, we'll chat over email, Charlie, or phone here and figure out when we can get something to present to Tyler.
yes.
You guys, do you need anything else from me? Like, I don't think we need. I was worried about temperatures or the bottom pressure. I think you're good there. I mean, just using a normal water gradient, that should be a normal pressurized zone. And even if it's slightly over, I think we're heavy on casing anyways. Like on the 5.5 with the 110 KSI, we're good there. I think so. It does change the partial pressure and everything, but it's just going to push us up to the 2550, which is kind of where we're looking at anyway. So
Yeah.
but if there is anything else you need from me, I'll keep looking.
Okay, awesome.
Terrific.
Anything else, Charlie or Craig?
I think
Not
we're
for
good.
me.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thanks,
Okay,
everyone,
thanks,
for your time. Really appreciate it. We'll chat soon.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Thanks again.
Ciao.
Have a good day, guys.